Welcome everybody to Tuesday Tuneups. I'm Marguerite Crespillo, and thank you for joining us today. Be sure to stay on top of what is going on by heading over to margueritecrespillo.com and add your name to my email list to get updated on all the upcoming trainings and world-class interviews we're doing. We relaunched our Real Estate Real World podcast a month or two ago, and we've been getting some pretty amazing guests. So it's a lot of fun and I'm excited to do it. So, all right, well, we're going to dive in. People are showing up late today. Looks like everyone's getting ready to take the summer off or something, but that's totally okay. We're happy you're here. So today what we're going to talk about is what I call my client discussion checklist. It is literally, I think, one of the best things that I've created over the years. And I started it early on in my career when I was having challenges with buyers not understanding things or buyers not staying loyal, or issues coming up in the middle of a transaction that I had not prepared a buyer for. And so if you think about it, there is what's called a fine line of trust when it comes to working with clients. And how that trust works is that when you explain something up front to them, and it happens, they go, oh yeah, Marguerite warned me about that, right? And they trust you to be the expert and to know what's going on. If you don't warn them about these things up front, then when something does go wrong, they go, oh, what else did you not tell me about? And then they're skeptical, a big part of the transaction. So I literally created this checklist based on things that went wrong in the middle of a real estate transaction. And it became literally extremely valuable in what I do on a regular basis. And it became extremely valuable when talking to clients and helping them understand the process and go through everything. So what we're going to do today is this is actually the client discussion checklist that you're seeing right here. And I'm going to go through and explain each of these items that are on this checklist. Now, I will tell you that I believe that this checklist is universal. It can be used just about anywhere in the country. There might be specific things that might be a little different to your market, but overall, the process is still the same, right? So do you have any questions before we get started? Let's see. I don't see any questions at the moment. So we're going to dive in to what I call my outstanding buyer presentation. And this is a product that I used to sell. We're actually in the process of updating it and we'll be relaunching it before long. But I can make the client discussion checklist available to you guys. So we'll make sure to post it. Make sure you're following me on YouTube and following me on margueritecrespillo.com. And we'll be sending it out for you. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. So we are going to dive in and get started. All right, so I'm going to take down the checklist. This is the checklist that I mentioned that I use on a regular basis, but I'm going to go into a presentation which explains each of these items on this checklist, okay? So let me stop sharing my screen for a moment and take this one down and I'll put our presentation up. All righty, let's get rolling. Okay, so buying a home in today's market. So this is the presentation that I typically do with buyers. And I go through and I explain everything to them. And I talk about all the things that are on that checklist, okay? So if I'm talking to a buyer, I'm saying, of course, purchasing a home can be one of the most exciting times in your life. And at the same time, become a little overwhelming. I want you to understand that I'm here to help guide you through the process. And if you have any questions along the way, I am here for you. So we have a client discussion checklist. In an effort to ensure we give you all the important information for a smooth road to your celebration day, we've created the following checklist, not only for you, but as a reminder to us of the value of reviewing all the important parts of a real estate transaction. However, keep in mind that every single real estate transaction is different and unique to your particular situation. Little things come up along the way and you'll most certainly have questions. So please feel free to ask all the questions you need, 2 or 3 times if necessary, even if you think they're stupid in your eyes. I'm sure you've heard many times that there's no stupid questions, right? We also understand that there's a lot to absorb. So if you get overwhelmed, don't worry. We'll tell you again and keep you on track. Remember that this is your home purchase, and what is most important is that you understand and enjoy the process. All right, so we're going to dig into a few of the questions so I can be crystal clear. We had you fill out a ultimate scenario form when you came in, and we want to make sure that we go through and really listen to what is most important to you. So help me understand, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, what is most important to you about the process of buying a home? Now, listen, agents, it's really important that you listen here and give them plenty of opportunity to answer because they will tell you what's important to them. They will tell you, hey, it's price, or it's bedrooms, or it's bathrooms, or it's a garage, or, it's, I'm concerned about the payment, or I don't want to live in a certain area. I want to be in a good place for my kids' schools. They'll talk about lots of different things that are important to them. So it's really important that you stop and listen to what they're saying, okay? So back to Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. When you first arrived, we asked you to take a few minutes to fill out this form. And I want to thank you for taking the time to do so. You see, this helps give us some insight as to what is most important to you and how we can best serve you. And we asked you to dream about your perfect home. We found that when you dream about it, it has a tendency to show up, right? So what kind of a time frame are you looking at, and when do you want to be in your new home? Again, guys, I'm going to remind you to stop and really listen to what they are saying and what's most important to them. There's a reason behind all of the stuff that I say. For example, in asking them about the time frame, keep in mind buyers don't want to feel pressured or pushed into buying a home. And they feel that as agents, we're just here to sell them, right? So we want to make sure that they really understand that their time frame is our time frame. I don't really care when you buy a home. It's up to you. We want to make sure that you get into the right home that makes the most sense for you. All right. So the next step is understanding agency relationships. You guys, again, there's a method behind my madness and a reason why I talk about every single thing on this checklist. Because most consumers do not understand what agency means or how it works. In fact, I just had a long-term client of mine that was thinking about buying a home, but they hadn't reached out to me yet. And they were on Zillow. You guys, this is a biggie. I hope you're paying attention to this. They went on Zillow and they saw a home that they were interested in. So guess what? They thought they were clicking for the agent. They thought they were actually going to be talking to the listing agent, not to me. So they clicked on that. That agent said, oh, well, yeah, absolutely. I can show you the home. And they didn't want to bother me because they thought I was too busy. So they went out and saw this home with another agent. Then they realized what they did and they called me upset. They said, I'm really sorry. We're not sure what to do. Well, I ended up taking them out, showing them different homes. They ended up buying something else. It all worked out. But you guys, this is the third time in the last few months where I've had a client call me after they clicked the button on Zillow, thought they were talking to the listing agent, and ended up, of course, talking to an agent who's paid to do advertising on Zillow. So you want to make sure that you explain this. So I'm going to read what I say. Now that we've clarified all the important stuff, I want to take a few minutes and explain the real estate process to you and make sure you are clear on how things will work from here on out. Let's talk about agency relationships. Now, this is how it applies in California, you guys. I'm pretty sure it's the same way throughout the United States, but if you have different rules in your state or county, please reference those. There are three kinds of agency relationships. One to represent you as the buyer, which is what I'm here to do today. One to represent you as the seller. And if we were to sell you any home listed by me or anyone within our company, that would be called dual agency. This means we have an obligation to treat everyone in the transaction fairly and honestly. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next section. So this is called, what is your reticular activator? Again, you guys, this is all really important. So your reticular activator, this is a tiny part of your brain that heightens your awareness of what is going on around you. For example, pregnant women notice other pregnant women. Buy a red car, all of a sudden you see the same red car everywhere you go, right? We tell you this because now that you're in the market for a home, all of a sudden you see anything to do with real estate everywhere you go. You notice for sale signs in places you never noticed before. Everyone seems to be talking about real estate, and all of a sudden everyone wants to give you advice on who to use, what to do, where to go. Sound familiar? I tell you this for two valuable reasons. One, because I want you to remember that I'm a full-time professional real estate agent, and this is what I do every day. So bring all those questions to me and I will get you the answers. All those people who can't wait to give you advice don't necessarily know your personal situation and all the things we've discussed and reviewed to help you find the best possible home for your situation. So you guys, for example, how many of you have all of a sudden had a buyer come to you and say, but my Aunt Sally sold real estate 30 years ago, and she said, I need to do this, right? And so guess what? Next thing you know, they're talking to somebody else and they're digging into things that you've already discussed with the client. So again, this is all stuff that has happened in the middle of a real estate transaction, you guys. So it's important to have these conversations. Okay, the next thing, the second reason is that my business is built on referrals from great people like you. So if you hear of somebody else who's in the real estate market, I'd appreciate you sending them my way. Now, is that an easier way to ask for referrals than, hey, who do you know that is buying and selling a house, right? You're telling them upfront how valuable their business is to you and how important their referrals are. As a huge thank you for all your referrals, we've created the following incentive programs to reward you for all your help. Your referrals are the lifeblood of our business and enable us to spend more time giving you and your referrals world-class service. The following awards will be issued for referrals generated in each calendar year. Now, this is just an example, you guys, but here's a mistake that frequently happens. You say, hey, when you refer somebody, I'll give you a $500 gift card or $250 when it closes. Well, here's what happens. 1 out of 3 referrals will actually close. And why is that? Because maybe the person they referred to you has credit issues, or maybe their job situation isn't stable. Maybe they can't qualify right now, or maybe they're not ready to buy. Well, your client did their job by referring somebody to you, didn't they? Just because you don't close them doesn't mean you don't need to reward them. And the truth is, many people are thrilled to get a little gift card in the mail. It's just a handwritten note and a gift card in the mail. People are thrilled to get that, right? So these are just some ideas and incentives that you guys can look at to implement in your own business. Okay, so the next thing I will include is my resume. This is just a template of one you can use. This is an example of mine. And this one talks about my schedule. This is really important. How many of you guys feel like you work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you're on call all the time, right? So here's what I say. My schedule is, I'm available Monday through Friday, and by appointments, evenings and Saturdays. I take Sundays off to be with my family. I have a few people that help me on my team, and I've handpicked them to take great care of you. Sally is my team manager and is available to help you with anything you need in my absence, including showing you homes and helping you with contracts. John is my transaction manager, and once we find you the perfect home, he will handle all the details such as collecting disclosures, ordering inspections, and more. You guys, early on in my career, I decided that I needed to be able to take some time off. But here's the biggest mistake you make is that you don't tell your clients that. You tell them, oh, call me anytime. I'm available 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And then you're pissed when they call you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I will tell you that clients are always respectful of my time. The people who are the most disrespectful of my schedule are unfortunately other real estate agents. So I encourage you guys, it doesn't mean you can't answer the phone on Sunday. I will not lie that I occasionally check my email and answer the phones on Sunday, but overall, my clients are very respectful of my time. And if I want to be able to take that time off, people understand it, right? So it's really important that you help people understand your operating hours, your schedule, and when you are available and when you work. All right, so searching for homes. This is an important one, you guys. Right now in our market, we have a variety of different sellers that each have specific requirements, such as HUD VA homes that are homes that have been taken back by the Department of HUD, Housing and Urban Development, VA homes that have been taken back by the Department of Veterans Affairs. They each have their own requirements for purchasing these homes, but are also listing in our local MLS, which your link that we will set up has access to. In addition, there are also bank-owned homes or other names are REO or foreclosures, and then there are short sales. Most of these homes are sold as is with no repairs to be done by seller, and disclosures are very limited due to the fact that the sellers have never occupied the homes and they are exempt from certain disclosure laws. You guys, much of this doesn't apply right now, but you want to be prepared for this when it comes back, right? Short sales are where the owner owes more than the home is worth. Thus, we are trying to negotiate with the bank to take a reduced payoff, and the seller must qualify for this principal reduction and must show a financial hardship. This process alone can take several months with no guarantee or acceptance of approval by the bank. Many times you guys will find a particular home on a different website other than the link we've arranged for you. And you'll wonder, why are these not in your link? There are a number of reasons why they may not be there. They could be pending sale. They might be a for sale by owner. They might be new homes. They might be in a different zip code or of different parameters than are originally laid out. You guys, this is also a very important conversation to have. Why is that? Because how many of you have had a situation where your client's out driving around, they see a Remax sign in the yard, or a Caldwell Banker sign in the yard, or Century 21 or EXP, doesn't matter what company it is, but it's not the company that you work for. So they honestly think that you can't sell them that home because you don't work for Remax or Caldwell Banker or Century 21. They don't know that you can sell them any home. In addition, how many of you have had the situation happen where they're on late at night on the infomercials where it says they can buy a HUD home for $1, right? Well, that was only in Michigan during the worst market in history, and that wasn't really realistic. So they're seeing stuff online. They're also going to Zillow, and they're seeing on Zillow that homes appear to be a foreclosure or something along those lines, and that information's not accurate, is it? So guess what? When you have this conversation up front, it makes a big difference, and they understand. When they go to that website, I'll say, hey, when you see those homes online or you're driving past them, be sure to just send me the address and I'll research them for you. An additional thing that happens if you're setting up MLS portals for them or links, again, maybe they said that they wanted to live in zip code, I don't know, 12345. And guess what? You can have neighborhoods, I'm sure it happens everywhere, where one side of the street can be one zip code, the other side of the street can be a different zip code. So they'll go, well, why isn't that house in my portal? Well, because you only wanted homes in this zip code. It's on the wrong side of the street, right? Or it's in a different zip code. So this is why it's so important that you make sure that you explain to them how important it is to contact you if they have any issues with finding homes that are not in their portal, right? Okay, so let's talk about the next thing. Parties to a transaction. This is really important, you guys, to make sure that they understand who all the parties are to the real estate transaction. So I make sure that they understand that we have a transaction coordinator, an escrow or title officer. If you're in an attorney state, you have attorneys. They may have a loan officer involved, and they may have an inspector, home inspector, or different inspectors involved. So it's important that they understand who are all the parties to the transaction. Next thing is driving past homes. All right, so now that we're past that, let's talk about the fun stuff, finding you a home. Since you are the one who will be living in this home, it's important that you feel comfortable. So it's essential that you drive past any homes on the list that you're interested in and check out the neighborhoods. Talk to neighbors, they're your best source of gossip, right? And can't wait to tell you what is going on in the neighborhood or with that particular home. You guys, this simple step will save you a ton of time in them driving past neighborhoods that they don't want to live in. And what you have to keep in mind is that I have no idea, and I tell them this, I go, you know, someplace that I might feel comfortable, you may not, and vice versa. So I have no idea where you're going to feel comfortable, and you want to make sure you talk to neighbors that are your best source of gossip. What you don't want to have happen is that you don't want to indicate that there could be any issues or challenges in a neighborhood. You want to be highly aware of fair housing laws, so you don't want to ever say anything that could be considered discriminatory or anything. Like, I don't want to say, hey, that's a bad neighborhood, or I don't like that area, or there's problems with that particular neighborhood. I don't ever want to say that. But if my buyer drives by and they meet the guy out front and he's not nice to them, guess what? That is something they did, not something I did, right? So we got to be very mindful of fair housing when we talk about this. We want them to research it. We want them to check out the neighborhood. We want them to talk to neighbors. I mean, I'll tell them I'm happy to go with them if they're not comfortable, but I want them to drive past the areas and make a decision on whether they feel comfortable living in that area or not. That's not a decision I need to make, okay? So this will also save you a ton of time when they drive past areas. Now they might have eliminated certain neighborhoods and areas that you're not going to have to go show them homes in, right? So just keep in mind, be very conscientious of this. I really encourage people to drive past. Again, since they are the one who's going to be living in the home, it's important for them to feel comfortable. It doesn't matter where they live to me, right? Okay. Excuse me, I got a little cough. The next thing is, in their packet that I provide for them is a flyer called 101 Most Common Speed Bumps. This is not intended to scare you, but to list the most common issues we come up against in a real estate transaction. Things like, don't go out and buy a new car a few days before close of escrow. Things like, don't go out and quit your job a few days before escrow, right? Please read through this list and make sure you're not doing any of the items listed. Important ones are no new debt. Don't buy anything, including cars, appliances, or major purchases without discussing it with your loan officer. This includes depositing or withdrawing any large amounts of cash. Anything over $500 is not part of your monthly bills. You guys, I can't tell you how many times I've literally over the years had a transaction fall apart and cancel because they bought a car, or they quit or got fired from their job, or, you know, they took all the money out of their mattress and, you know, deposited it in the house, and now we have to that money came from. So again, these are all important conversations to have, right? Okay, so the 10 commandments of buying a home. This is a good one too. Thou shalt not change jobs, become self-employed, or quit your job. Thou shalt not buy a car, truck, or van, or you may be living in it. Oh, I got a spell check there. Thou shalt not use credit cards excessively or let current accounts fall behind. You guys, I literally had a client who bought something for $50 and then he forgot to make the payment, and now he got late on a credit card. Thou shalt not spend money you have set aside for closing. Thou shalt not omit debts or liabilities from your loan application. Thou shalt not buy furniture, including appliances, right? Thou shalt not originate any inquiries in your credit. Don't, when you go to Target and they say, hey, we'll give you 10% off if you get a Target card, don't do it. Thou shalt not make large deposits without checking with your loan officer. Thou shalt not change bank accounts. Thou shalt not co-sign a loan for anyone. So these are all important things to keep in mind, okay? All right, so next we're going to talk about, the home buying process timeline. So this is a big part of the real estate process, are the timelines we need to live within. So here you can see our home buying process timeline. In the first box, you will see initial consultation. That's what we're doing here today, making sure that you understand the process. Now, here's a little secret. Odds are you are not going to remember most of what I say, but that's okay because we have some detailed notes about this timeline right here for you. In the next box, you'll see searching for a home, preparing an offer. This stage is totally up to you. It will depend on how quickly you find the perfect home. Remember, it does not matter to us when you buy a home. I've had clients that find it the first time out and others who take months or years. Now, keep in mind, in our current market, things are going a bit crazy. So you may feel pressure from me to prepare an offer. That is not intended to pressure you into buying a home. That is simply telling you that if you choose not to make an offer on a home, you could lose out on it because homes are going pending very quickly. So this is where you guys may want to detail what is going on in your particular market, right? Go in and explain to them what is happening in your market. In the next box, you will see contract accepted, escrow period begins. This stage starts the day our contract is accepted by the seller, and you will know this date because I will have called you and said, woohoo, we have an accepted contract. The rest of the boxes, we're going to go into more details, but it is a great idea to put this up on your refrigerator where you can see it and stay on track. All right, let's talk about some upfront costs. You guys, this is also an important conversation to have. And where this came about was back in the days when they had HUD homes that you could buy for $500 down. Or if you have clients who are veterans who do VA no-no, they literally think they don't have to put any money in as an earnest money deposit and that they don't have any closing costs. And this has caused a lot of issues in the past. So upfront costs, there are some upfront costs associated with buying a home. A good faith deposit is required on all purchase contracts, regardless of what kind of loan you're doing. This usually is anywhere from 1% to 3% of the purchase price and will be held by escrow until the contract is, and will be deposited into escrow once the contract is accepted, at which point it will be forwarded to the title company, will be a deposit against your final closing costs and down payment. How you guys do that in different states, make sure you clarify that. Your lender will typically collect for an appraisal that again will be completed once we have an accepted offer on the home of your choice. The cost is anywhere from $500 to $800. Again, you'll want to clarify this with your lender. Credit report, this is usually collected by your lender and can run anywhere from $50 to $100. You'll want to discuss that with your lender. Home inspection. You'll want a home inspection typically done on your home, and the cost can range anywhere from $500 up, depending on square footage of the home and what things you may want to include. There could be additional costs for things like pest inspections, sewer scopes, radon inspections, whatever is common for your area, you guys will want to address in this inspection part. The next thing is closing costs. This is a big one, you guys. This has happened to me. There are two types of closing costs associated with buying a home if you are getting a loan. There are the real estate closing costs, typically things like title and escrow fees, attorney fees, city and county transfer taxes, home warranties, HOA transfer fees, etc. And then there are the loan closing costs. These are the fees associated with you getting a loan on the home you're purchasing and should be discussed at length with your lender. These will be in addition to your down payment. Now, many times we can negotiate some of these costs to be added into the purchase price so that you have less money out of your pocket. Again, you guys, you're going to want to change the language in some of this depending on what happens and what is going on in your current market. Okay, so inspections. Once we're in contract, we'll want to have our inspections completed. We have strict time periods with which to get these done, and our transaction manager will be coordinating these with you. A is a home inspection. This is where a home inspector completely checks out the home from top to bottom, kind of like having a mechanic check out your car. They'll give you a detailed report of their findings, and we'll review this report at our disclosure review meeting, which we will discuss in a moment. Termite inspections. Sometimes this is paid for by the seller, but may also be something you pay for and want to have done. Please keep in mind they do not look for things like spiders, ants, rats, etc. They look for what are called wood-destroying organisms. They usually look for what are called Section 1 items, which means active infestation or dry rot. What this means is if you've ever been to someone's house and looked under the kitchen sink and you see a leak there, and it has been there so long it's done damage to the wood below and now the wood is mushy and mildewy, this indicates that there's a problem right now that has caused damage and will only continue to get worse. This will need to be repaired immediately. Section 2 items are potential for active infestation or dry rot. So remember that kitchen sink, this means there's a leak, but it has not yet started to do any damage. And if you get the leak fixed, there won't be any damage. So keep in mind, again, it depends on how this applies in your particular market. Some homes may have well and septic systems. A well inspection tests for two things: potability, whether the water is safe to drink or not, and gallons per minute that the well pumps the water. If the home has a septic tank, we will also want to have it inspected for size and condition, as well as have it pumped and cleaned out. Okay, so next is the requesting repairs versus a home warranty. Requesting repairs versus as is. Most sellers prefer to sell their homes as is, especially banks and short sales. Thus, why we have inspections done to make sure it is something we're prepared to handle. But many times this can be a negotiating point in the contract. We can ask for repairs and the seller has the right to say yes, no, or maybe. Yes, they're willing to do all the repairs asked for. No, they won't do any of them. Maybe usually means that they'll agree to do some of the repairs and will expect you to do the rest. If any items that they have are not agreed to repair or beyond what you're willing to take on, then guess what? We can back out and go find another home. You would be entitled to your good faith deposit back if you've not removed your contingencies, depending on what we negotiated in the contract, but we'll have lost your inspection money, but it could be money well spent. Okay, home warranty. In the packet of information are some brochures on home warranties. I recommend that you read through this and see what the requirements are and what is covered. We will typically try and get the seller to pay for this item, but if they don't, you may want to consider purchasing one yourself. They charge a deductible, but then will come out and repair many of the items within your home. All right, homeowners insurance. Once we were in contract, we will want you to start shopping for homeowners insurance. And this flyer will be able to fill in with the common questions your insurance agent will need in order to provide you a quote. Once you have a quote that you're happy with, you will provide that information to the escrow officer when you're signing your final loan documents. Your homeowner's insurance is usually, not always, paid as part of your mortgage payment. So you should not be required to give your insurance agent any money up front. Now, some areas, you guys too, I live in a high fire hazard zone area. So this is an important topic to cover, and it's also important that you make sure that they're getting quotes, because we've seen quotes come back that can be 2 to 3 to 4 times what they would normally pay for homeowners insurance, and you want to make sure that they know that up front. All right, so if you're overwhelmed with paperwork, be prepared for lots of paperwork and disclosures. But don't worry, we'll keep you on track of what needs to be done and where and what important things to look out for. So I make a little joke about this. We've heard rumors of a paperless real estate transaction, which 99% of our deals are paperless now. But I always say they're waiting until your transaction is complete. We wish we could tell you there's nothing more for you to sign, read, or file in the circular file. But unfortunately, we're just getting started. There are disclosures, inspections, etc. on their way. Now, you can change up this language to say that we keep digital files right now, right? And for those of you that keep your files or have them in your company files, you make sure that they understand how that works. All right, so getting ready to celebrate. More than anything, I want you to know that this will not be the end of our relationship. In fact, the last box in your home buying process timeline is called an annual review. This is where we will give you a call once a year and give you an update on the values of your home and in the area so you can stay on top of your investment. I am your realtor for life, so if you ever have any questions or need information or just want to know what is going on with the current market, feel free to give me a call anytime. Again, you guys, this is valuable information to make sure explaining up front so they know that you're not going anywhere when the deal is done. All right, so building clients for life. Please understand that my goal is to provide the highest level of service, professionalism, and loyalty to all my clients to ensure that we continue a lifelong relationship. I'm a firm believer of clients for life, meaning that I'm so committed to providing you with world-class service that my future business depends on it. While most agents spend their time, energy, and money soliciting the general public, I prefer to spend my time concentrating on you and your special needs. My goal is to create advocates for my business that feel compelled to refer their friends, family, and associates to us. Okay, and then last but not least, I will have them. Here is our preferred buyer agreement. And what this says is that we're going to do lots of hard work for you. And we only get paid if we produce results and you find the perfect home. Lucky for you, our fees are paid by the seller. So you get all of our hard work with none of the costs. All we ask is that you remain loyal to us. Should you decide not to buy a home at this time for some reason, are not happy with our service, we have an easy exit guarantee. Just line through this agreement, write canceled, and let us know. That's it. Now let's get your link set up and go find you a home. All right, you guys. So there you go. That is basically my client discussion checklist and my buyer presentation. So I'm more than happy to share my client discussion checklist with you guys. The buyer presentation, we are updating it and doing some changes to it. And it's also a paid product and program that I have sold in the past. So we're going to be putting that together. But keep in mind, all of this you could do yourself. I mean, you don't have to do any of this stuff, but this client discussion checklist has literally become the most valuable thing I do. I use it every single time. And people say, well, I don't want to look like I'm reading off a checklist. You don't have to look like you're reading off a checklist, but how many times have you had a situation with a client where you're yik-yakking about all kinds of stuff and you forget to go over the important details with them, right? So it's really important to have that checklist to go over with them. So what kind of questions might you guys have? Any thoughts, ideas? Thank you, Marguerite. So funny to say my own name to somebody else. I've known Marguerite Taylor for many years, and I'm happy to see her here today. So any other questions you guys might have? No? All right, well, nobody's even on screen today. It must be a bad hair day. I will share the client discussion checklist with you, yes. So I'll get that sent out to you. Or please shoot me an email so I'll make sure I send it to you. Any other questions? Comments? No thoughts? All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for joining me again on Tuesday Tune-Up. Be sure to share this with your friends, and everybody is welcome, anybody with any company. And make sure to follow me on YouTube and sign up on my website, margueritecrespillo.com, if you're not getting emails from me. Any other questions, comments before we wrap up?
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today, Shannon. Oh, Marguerite hasn't been able to unmute. That's okay. It was great seeing you here today. Hey, Beth, good to see you. Do you have a question?
Hey. What's that?
Do you have any questions?
No, I've just been taking good notes.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Have an awesome day.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.